Hey guys, Chase with Sherpa Equipment Company. Today we're going to be installing an Animas 24 on this Tacoma. These instructions apply to the Animas 21, the Animas 24, and the Animas 30. These numbers after the Animas are the length of the side plate. So this is the 24, meaning the side plate is 24 inches long. This will help you finding your correct fitment for your truck. Okay, so when you get your box, you're going to have your side plates, your set of mounts, your rubber, your hardware, and then your fairing hardware. You're also going to have your crossbars and your fairing. And to start this install, we're going to go right ahead and get our mounting feet mounted to our crossbars. So for this rack, we find it easiest to install your mounts to your crossbars before they go up on the truck. So to do this, we're going to space our crossbars out, take our mounting feet. You're going to want the flat bottom to be facing out. And to install these to your crossbars, all we're going to do is take our T-nuts, drop them in the slots. The orientation of the wide side of the T-nut does not matter. We're going to do this on both crossbars. Now that we got our T-nuts installed in our crossbars, we're going to go ahead and take our mount, take our shorter hex head quarter 20 bolts with a 1/4 inch washer, also silver, and we're going to begin to thread these into the T-nuts through the top of the mounting foot. It's important when you're threading these in to just thread them in loosely. You want to be able to move the mounting foot back and forth on the crossbar with no interference. Now we're going to do the same on the other side. Now that we got the mounting feet attached to the crossbars, we're going to head up to the top of the truck and remove the weather stripping. So for this rack, we're not going to completely pull the weather stripping out. All we're going to do is pull it up away from the truck in the front. There's a clip on the front of this weather stripping that you have to kind of pop out, and then we'll pull it up and out of the way. And then we'll go ahead and remove the excess foam double-sided tape from the truck. Removing this foam inside the track is not 100% necessary, but we like to do it, get it all cleaned up to ensure it fits back in nicely. To do this, we have some plastic pry tools that we just scrape off the top of the roof, get the plastic on. And this truck has already had a rack previously mounted to it, so you'll notice the bolt holes are already exposed. Usually there's a piece of vinyl over these holes, and you'll take an X-Acto knife, cut the vinyl away. That will expose your bolt holes for your rack. Now that the holes are exposed, the gutter's cleaned out, we're going to go ahead and get our mounts, get our rubber, and get the crossbars mounted up here. One thing to note with our rubber mounting spacers, there is a thin side and a thick side to the rubber. The thin side is going to want to face the inside of the vehicle. So your middle mounting rubber and your front mounting rubber, thin side faces in. So now we're going to put our rubber blocks on. Again, thin side facing inside of the vehicle. You're going to align your holes with the holes in your roof. Set your rubber block there. And you're going to repeat this step on the back side. And then we'll get our mounting feet up. So now we're going to go ahead, drop the crossbars onto the roof. The tall part of the mount is going to be on the front of the vehicle. And you're just going to want to be careful with this step. Maybe grab a friend to help you and carefully slide your mount into position. Now that our mounts are on the truck, we are going to grab our M6 hardware, get it loosely bolted to the roof, and then we'll go ahead and center the crossbars on the mounts. Now we're going to install our bonded washers onto our M6 hardware. To do this, you're going to line it up, go ahead and slide that washer all the way down to the hex head. We're going to do this with all the bolts. When installing the M6 hardware, we find it easier to get the front 2 bolts started first. That will help you line up your middle mount with that single bolt, which you'll be able to find the hole easier. Once you get them all started, you can go ahead and tighten them down, working around the rack. And you're going to want to tighten down until the bonded washer just starts to become crushed, and then we'll get the side plates up. When tightening these, you can make your life a little easier. Push the crossbar out of the way. You can get access to it with a socket. It's going to be a 10 mil, and you're once again going to want to only tighten till the bonded washer starts to compress, and you'll see small amounts of rubber popping out of the side of the bonded washer. If you already have the camper installed on your truck, ratcheting wrench is going to be the easiest option for this one. You're going to want to make sure you're tightening it. And again, go ahead and tighten this one until the bonded washer starts to compress and the rubber just starts coming out the sides. Now that our mounting bolts are secured into the top of the truck, we're going to go ahead and center up our crossbars. To do this, you need a tape measure, and pretty much you're going to want to measure from the inside face of the mount to the edge of the crossbar, and you're going to want it to match up on both sides. For this rack, we already centered it, and it comes out to about 4 3/4, and the middle mount comes out to about 5 inches. This could be different depending on your truck setup, but that's a good place to start. Now that we got them centered, we're going to go ahead, tighten down the bolts that are going up into the T-nuts in the bottom of the crossbar, and once those are all tight, we'll put the side plates on. When you're tightening these, you'll hear the T-nut start to bite inside that channel on the crossbar, and you don't need to go much tighter than that. You don't want to over tighten these and snap the bolts. This next step isn't completely necessary, but if you want to have your gutter trim go back in, you can take a Sharpie, go ahead and mark the gutter trim at the edge of the mounts, and then you can trim it up, use some double-sided tape, and put it back in your gutter. Now that the gutter trim's back in, we can go ahead and put the side plates up. To install side plates, we're going to use the 1/4" socket buttons with the 1/4" black washers. Now we're going to install the socket buttons. We're just going to loosely get them started. After that, we can put the rest of the crossbars in, and then we'll tighten everything down. Once you're satisfied with the placement, you can check the bottom of the rack to the body line of the truck. You can go ahead, tighten down your socket buttons, and we'll install the other side. So now we notice we only have 2 crossbars left. We'll take one, that's going to go up in the rack, and then our final crossbar we're going to use to assemble our fairing. Now we are going to install the fairing. So you're going to take one of your crossbars, set your other or others to the side, and grab your fairing and fairing hardware. The easiest way we find to install the fairing is line up your fairing to the crossbar, kind of make an imaginary line with your holes to the crossbar, and go ahead and install your T-nuts in line with those holes. This will kind of give you a base to start off of for lining it up. Should have 6 T-nuts to be installed. Once those are in roughly the correct spot, go ahead, take your fairing, lay it over the crossbar, and then the easiest way to do this is just start at one end, get your bolt started, and then work from one end to the other. Again, this is a step that you want to just get them going in loosely. You don't want to tighten it down, because you're going to find that you're moving the fairing back and forth to find the other T-nuts in the crossbar. Once all the bolts are started, go ahead, line your fairing up with the edge of the crossbar. Once it's lined up, you can now tighten down your socket buttons. No need to over tighten, just get them nice and snug. Now we're going to throw the fairing up on the rack. This is a good step to have a friend step in, help you hold it up so you can get the bolt started without damaging your paint. Now that we got the socket button started, we like to line up the bottom of the edge trim to the bottom of the side plate. This should leave somewhere around an 1/8 to a 1/4" gap off of your roof. That should be plenty. And once you're happy with the alignment, you can go ahead and tighten them down. Now we're down to our final crossbar. We'll go ahead and put this up on the truck, and the rack will be complete. So the rack's fully installed. It's always a good idea, once you're complete, to go back through, check all the bolts, check all the hardware. Make sure everything's tight. You don't want anything rattling, making any kind of noise. Also a good idea, after driving it for a while, go back through, just do one more hardware check. After that, you should be fine. These instructions do apply. They might not be exactly the same. Parts might be slightly different. Hardware might be slightly different. But as far as the Animas 21, the Animas 24, and the Animas 30, they should be all very, very similar as far as installing the rack. If you do run into any issues or have any problems installing it, feel free to give us a call, shoot us an email. We're happy to help. Other than that, truck looks great and he's ready to go.